We've always been told that taking an aspirin a day as you get older has many health benefits, but new studies may be proving otherwise. Dr. Payal Kohli has more.
Dr. Kohli, it's great to have you here in the Coco kitchen.
Oh, it's my first time. I'm so excited.
It's nice, right?
It's beautiful.
Sorry I didn't cook for you today. Maybe next time. All right, well, some amazing things happening here when it comes to our medical health and things that we now know. Let's talk about aspirin, something that we've really kind of relied on, especially as adults here. Can you break down the recommendations about aspirin to prevent heart attack and stroke?
Well, it's funny, Danny, as a cardiologist, and while I was in training, I always used to have the mantra, an aspirin a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah.
Right? And we used to stick to that. But what we've realized based on new research is that this may actually not be true. And the shotgun approach of everybody getting aspirin doesn't make sense. Instead, aspirin is only recommended for a certain subtype of people, particularly those that have had a prior heart attack, a prior stroke, or have known blockages in their blood vessels. But if you don't fall into those groups, it may not help you. In fact, it may even harm you if you're older.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, and like you said, this is something that we've relied on for so long. This is huge for a lot of us. So does the dose of aspirin matter too, especially in those people?
Yes, it does. And so a lot of people think the aspirin 325 or the baby aspirin, which is 81 milligrams, are interchangeable. But actually 325 has no evidence whatsoever, even in those people with heart attacks and strokes, because it increases risk of bleeding. So it works, you know, the 81 works just as well as the 325 without as much bleeding. So you really never want to be on a 325. And if you are, you need to talk to your doctor about whether that's the right dose.
Okay. So good things to keep in mind for that too. Now, this was a big change, of course, too, from 2016 when the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force recommended that most adults over the age of 60 take the aspirin to prevent this heart attack and stroke, of course, for us. What prompted this change in recommendations right now?
It's been a total 180, I have to tell you. And what prompted it was really 3 big trials that came out that looked at randomized trials. Some people got aspirin, some people didn't, and then they counted up how they did with respect to heart attacks and strokes and bleeding. And what we found is that if you're older and you don't have pre-existing heart disease or known blockages, and you take aspirin, it actually increases your chance of dying.
Oh, wow.
And of course, it increases your chance of bleeding. So because there's a mortality risk to taking the aspirin, that's what really made us stop and say, we better change those guidelines.
Wow, yeah, and that's huge. Again, it's just something that we have always thought one way, and now, like you said, a complete 180. So now, what about diabetic patients? Is this something that we can, look at for them? Is it the same?
A little special population, I would say, diabetics, because their risk of having heart disease and stroke is much higher. So if you look at the trial of diabetic patients, what you see is that it reduces the chance of having heart attacks and strokes if you take aspirin, but it also increases the risk of bleeding by about the same amount. So for a diabetic patient, it has to be a really personalized decision with their doctor in terms of what their risk of bleeding is, what their risk of stroke is, what their other medical conditions are. So if you've got diabetes, you may benefit from an aspirin, but you need to talk to your doctor about that.
Okay. Well, to wrap things up, I think the big question so many people have too is what should we do if we are on aspirin and over the age of 60 and not diabetic, haven't had any of those prior heart disease? Should we stop at this point?
Yeah, so don't just let the momentum carry you to stay on it. But before you stop, make sure you check with your doctor. Make sure there's no other reason you're taking the aspirin. But I would say for a large number of my patients, I am pulling them off that aspirin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, big data, big new studies here. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Head to 9health365.com to learn more and make sure to tune in tomorrow as we talk about keeping our skin healthy this winter.